Let's trap the queen. No, not the queens. Queen. Okay, I've studied a bit about how to deal with the queen's gambit. Once you've seen this video, you'll be ready to punish anyone who plays the queen's gambit against you. And at the end of the video, I also got a topper. Let's go. Cool, so white kicks things off with d4 here. Your move is d5. And here white unleashes the queen's gambit. But you don't capture. Instead, you play e5. And white thanks for a free pawn. The pawn on c4 is also free. But you don't take this pawn. Because then you're toast, man. White is going to snatch your queen and leave you in a world of hurt. And you miss your chance to castle. Instead, you push your pawn to d4. This move will scare the shit out of white. You're basically saying no trespassing to white's knight and e-pawn, blocking their way out of this neighborhood. White's got a death wish for this pawn, and e3 is the sacrificial altar. We don't capture that piece, as it would simply return us to this same situation. Instead, you threaten his king with this check. White isn't worried about this threat, as he can easily cover it with his bishop or knight. If he blocks with the bishop and we grab it, he can take it back with his knight, and he won't be in any trouble. And if we don't grab it, he can easily snatch our bishop. So what to do? White expects us to take his bishop so he can recapture with his knight. Instead, we'll stun him by snatching his c3 pawn. Okay, so what should white do now? The best move would be f3 to e2. But we don't want that. Remember when I said I had researched this issue? Well, I set out on a journey around the world to find the answer. I looked everywhere. I mean everywhere for the answer. I read until my eyes crossed, dug through old books, Googled until my fingers cramped, and even checked under the couch cushions for clues. I searched high and low in the most bizarre of places for the answer. And then I found it. He's going to take on b4. So he took the bishop on b4. So now he is almost toast, buttered side down, because now we're going for f2. Check. So what's he going to do about that? What square can the king move to? He takes our pawn, we'll take his queen. That's a queen trade, baby. Don't even think about touching d2. Our queen will bite. So, it's down to e2. I can hardly resist the urge to pin the king between my bishop and queen, but that can be easily blocked with the knight. So instead you take the knight and promote it, but you're not going for the obvious queen promotion. You don't. Make it a queen. For then white can take our own queen. Like this. We have to take it back, and then white gets another queen for dinner. Instead, we're going to promote it to a horse. Puts the king in check. White must deal with this check. And who doesn't love a free knight? But you can now target the king and queen with your bishop. And now white has no knight to save the day. And from here on out, it's gloves off. And there's one more thing. When you check him with your knight, he can't go to f2, obvious. But if he goes back to e1, your queen is giving him a royal beating. Now he's between a rock and a hard place. If he blocks, fork him with this move, targeting both the king and the rook, and then turn his rook into scrap metal. And I promised you a topper, didn't I? I'll run through this rather quickly. These, my friends, are what I call the Sucker Punch 1 and 2. I've also put together a couple of short videos about them on my channel. Okay, the Sucker Punch 1. You can start e4, and when black go d5. You put your horse on f3. Or you could start with f3. Then he's more likely to play d5, and you get the same situation. And when he takes your pawn, and threaten your knight, you move it to g5, and threaten his pawn. He's probably thinking, My knight shall defend this piece. You're sacrificing a pawn. And when he takes, you take it back with your bishop. Black can't stand this knight and wants to get rid of it, and will try to bully it out of town. We're not scared of a little threat. We're taking f7 and laughing all the way to the bank, and forking the rook and the queen. Black's got to take the knight or say goodbye to his queen. And when he captures, we'll give him a check. And forces the king to choose from 3 terrible options. But the bishop is just begging to be taken. And now it's open hunting season on the queen. And then we'll hit him with a sucker punch. But watch out. There's something you need to keep an eye on. If he moves that pawn, don't take the bishop, because then you're in trouble, see? He can put you in check and snatch your queen. That's not exactly what we had in mind. So that's not good. Support your favorite content creator and subscribe. The sucker punch too. So you are starting on c3 and taking control over 2 important squares. Black plays d5. You want to get rid of these 2 pawns so you can open up a file for your queen. So you're throwing your pawn under the bus. If black grabs it, you don't take back. Since you want to open up a file for your queen, you won't take the pawn. Instead, you send your bishop and take control of this diagonal. Because you passed on the capture, black is bringing their knight to defend d5 and their pawn. Since you want to get rid of your d2 pawn, sacrifice it. With doubled pawns, black is likely to take. Leave this pawn alone. You want him to capture your piece. Just throw a random move out there, like this one. Alternatively, if you want to really entice him, you could sacrifice your knight. But let's say you play f2. What will black do? Black knows that this pawn is on death row, so black might as well pull the switch. But now he's cooked and served. Our bishop is going to be the chef. With this check, the king is trapped. His only escape is to take our bishop. The d-file is blocked by our queen, so he can't go there. He must take. And now we give him the sucker punch. That's a wrap for today. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you next time.